whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
On the Nikki Medoro Show, live on YouTube, starting at noon Pacific. I hope you guys have your power back on. Our hearts and prayers go out to those in Pajaro Valley where the levee broke, and it's awful what's happening out there. But we're trying to dig ourselves out of this storm and get the power going. My friends got their power back last night, so we'll update that. But good news. I know there's too much of a good thing in a little bit of this, actually a lot of it. But it does seem that the Bay Area is out of the drought. I'll show you the map in just a moment. Governor Newsom is taking a tour around the state. We'll get into his tiny solution to the massive homeless problem in the state of California. Do you think this is going to work, or is it just going to make things worse? Also, the news that those Bay Area men, those young men, San Francisco, and was it Mill Valley? They were in Italy, remember? And that one of them stabbed that cop to death. It's a plainclothes cop. We'll update that situation and whether or not a retrial is justified, in your opinion. So we'll open up the comments on that. We do have a couple of crime stories. And then in the second part of this hour, we have to, if you haven't heard, did you hear that Texas Governor Greg Abbott has announced a state takeover of Houston schools? And then we'll hear from someone running for the Houston City Council on why we should care about something like this here in California. I mean, because you can think it's Texas. What do you expect? You have to care about these things. A reporter is fired after calling a DeSantis press release propaganda. And then you just love to see Republican against Republican. Missouri Republican lawmaker is roasted by another Republican on her anti-gay bill. This actually came out, I don't know, a little more than a week ago. I saw it. Kim's husband actually reminded me of it. And it's so funny that it's worth a play. But it makes an interesting point, especially in light of, what happened in Florida. DeSantis and then in Texas with taking over the schools, all this woke, we shouldn't be talking about gender. And okay, are you talking about all gender? Or are you talking about all sexual orientations or not? We do have some kind of Ticketmaster news, some good news for T-Swift fans. We'll delve into that. And then in the second part of the show, Jefferson Graham will join us from PhotoWalks TV, also on YouTube. He has a show right after mine on Thursdays. He's taking a big trip, and he'll tell us what kind of camera equipment he will be bringing. And then I'm going to let you guys decide whether or not a piece of furniture that my husband dragged into this house is the monstrosity I think it is, or if you think that it's awesome as well. So that is all coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show. Of course, we say thank you to our founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz, who we hope that will join us in a little bit on the show. If you have a tax problem, give him a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. Of course, click the thumbs up button as we start this show. It helps us out. And of course, if you could throw some dollars, it goes to myself, it goes to Kim, who will be along shortly from Mark's show. The super chat is that $sign in the comments where you can donate some money for a sticker, a thanks, a comment that we will be sure to read. And then, of course, our Patreon. Links to our show can be found at thenikkimedoroshow.com. I appreciate each and every one of my Medorables. And so, yeah, you could donate any amount and become a monthly subscriber there. And, of course, pick up some merchandise, some that you see behind me at thenikkimedoroshop.com. All right, so let's get into it, my people. Now, this is an image that we really do like to see. This is today. This is thanks to ABC7's Drew Tuma for this map. You see that little brown spot? We want to see that brown spot because that means we're not in the drought. And that's pretty much the Bay Area, that we are no longer in a drought. Now, of course, when we talk about stories like Pajaro and the levees and the waters and the power outages and everything like that, it's tough. But this is the first time in more than 3 years that most of the Bay Area has completely wiped out dry and drought conditions on the latest drought monitor. Again, according to ABC7's Drew Tuma, nearly 64% of California is now out of the drought. A dry category apparently is not considered drought, only moderate or greater. And that's really, really good news. You know what, Randy, you make an excellent point. Nowhere in California should be in a drought if California knew how to manage its water statewide. True, although, for the amount of people that live in California, which has this climate that we love, but can get very, very dry, especially in certain parts of the state. Yeah, we absolutely need better water management. I can't imagine there's anybody that thinks that we don't need better water management in this state. We need better storage. When you see all of the water just going out into the ocean and we're not storing it for what we know is coming, just drier conditions. I mean, it ebbs and flows, and the extremes are going to get more extreme because of climate change. So really, really wet, too much water that we can handle, and then really, really dry. We need to store that water. We need to build, better dams, perhaps reservoirs, definitely better levees, which they're saying is going to take several years in the Pajaro Valley. But it's just really hard to see water falling. Remember, at the height of the drought, and there'd be water main breaks. And we'd be like, turn off the water. We don't have water. What is one of the comments a lot of you make to me on this show when I talk about housing? We don't have enough water. We don't have enough water because we don't know how to store it. Randy, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we need to figure out how to not only store the water, but make it affordable for people. Randy says, I'm sure our water rates will go down this year. No, our water rates never go down. This is the biggest FU that they ever give to us. Well, because people reduce the amount of water, which you asked us to do, we don't have enough revenue, so we have to raise rates. I understand why people complain, honestly. I really, really do. Yep, the Lady Beatrice. I will say this, for the rest of the recent winter weather, it helped relieve the stress of the drought. Absolutely. Most of the Bay Area is no longer, for the first time in 3 years, in a drought. Yep, Kim, I completely agree. And this argument has been made before and by me on Station X over at KGO. Kim says, if you can have a pipeline from Texas to New York for oil, we can have a pipeline to bring water in from states that get too much. Wouldn't that be nice? We'll just clean out those pipes and just use it for something we can actually use and drink and take care of ourselves and farm with. Karen makes the point, water going into the ocean is crucial for the environment. There's no salmon season this year because of the drought and water being diverted to agriculture. But again, I think, Karen, while you make an excellent point, it goes back to water management, right? It's managing the water that we do get at a time in which we're getting a lot so that we don't find ourselves in these situations. People in Vermont don't have water bills because they have unlimited water. Is that true? Kim writes, I've never heard of that. If that's true, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Well, the other issue we have besides water, of course, is the homeless situation. So Governor Gavin Newsom is announcing plans today to build hundreds of small, tiny homes across the state. Now, of course, we've seen this before. Some of these homes, I thought I had the number. Okay, so Sacramento's going to get 350 homes, tiny homes. Los Angeles is going to get 500. San Jose, here in my hometown, we're getting 200. And San Diego is getting 150 tiny homes. The governor's approved more than $22 billion in new housing and homeless spending since taking office. Here's Ali Rasmus with KTVU, kind of with another image of what this is going to look like. And again, we've seen this before.
Now, we don't know exactly what those small homes will look like, but we imagine they'll be somewhat similar to the tiny home and tough shed-like communities that we've seen in Oakland and in other Bay Area cities in recent years. Along with San Jose, the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and Sacramento will also receive hundreds of those small homes. Los Angeles getting the most at about 500 of them. This is part of the governor's plan to set aside $1 billion to give to cities in state money to help them reduce homelessness. A statement from the governor's office explained that these small homes, quote, can be quickly manufactured and, if need be, placed on surplus state land to rapidly move people safely inside from encampments to housing. Now, it'll be up to cities to decide where to put these small homes.
Now, this is the rub right here. Now, pay attention.
Although the state agency on housing will work with those cities to identify plots of land where they can go, the California National Guard will help build them. The cities will own these small home communities and will have to figure out how to run them and manage them and provide things like restrooms, garbage pickup, social services, and security. Cities will also decide who gets to live in these homes, and cities will be in charge of recruiting people from those homeless encampments to this form of temporary housing. The governor says the goal is to have these small home communities in these cities we just mentioned by this fall. So in a matter of months.
All right. Who thinks it's going to be a complete S show? Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. I like the idea of emergency housing. Our new mayor, Matt Mahan, here in San Jose, is all for this. And that doesn't surprise me that San Jose is getting a lot of them. But this kind of goes with that idea. We need a place to put people quickly, cheaply. The details, though, are going to be left up to individual cities. And I'm sorry, but for some cities, I don't have faith yet. And of course, Mahan just became mayor. I don't have faith that they could figure it out.
Let me tell you what happened in the city of Petaluma.
Okay, please.
They put up some tiny houses and moved people into them. And then the rains came. And apparently they slapped these bad boys together in a real hurry.
No.
Because the water started coming in and they leaked. And so people would have their belongings in tubs inside the tiny home, and the water came down and I guess ruined some things for people. So, I mean, I guess my question is, would you rather have your own tiny home space even though there's water coming in? Or would you rather be on the street in the middle of a deluge? I don't know what's better there, but I think if you're going to do something, you should do it right.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know that San Jose under Liccardo, former mayor Sam Liccardo, there was a problem with it. They weren't ADA compatible. There was like this step. And so it was all this money and then it never actually happened.
Yeah.
So I don't want a repeat of that.
Yeah.
There needs to be guidance and oversight. And I also think, because somebody was mentioning, who was it say? Yeah, Natalie, call the NIMBYs. Leaving it up to up to cities to decide where these go is asking for problems. What you need, if there was ever a moment in which you want to blame higher ups, it's in this situation. And maybe I'm wrong here, but I would much rather be Mahan being like, look, they're making us put it here. And then you don't have to take the heat and then it still happens. Then you just try to work with the community and blah, blah, blah. They're going to say no. That's where I think this whole thing is going to go wrong. Nobody wants to put these tiny home communities anywhere they live. Right. So then where do they go? And if you're talking about local politicians who still want to keep their jobs, trying to make everybody happy, I could see this being held up. This goal of it happening by this fall, that's a tall order, in my opinion. And I don't know if it's going to happen.
Do you think people would be more okay with it? And I mean, you might say, well, who cares if they're okay with it or not? But do you think people would be more okay with it if you had the drug addicted sent to rehab facilities, the mentally ill receiving help that they need in facilities as well, and then the people who are homeless because they just can't find a job, or they manage finances poorly, or they need help getting back on their feet financially, maybe people that have a family, kids, whatever, that those people that aren't suffering from mental illness or drug addiction would be able to move into these tiny homes. Do you think that would make a difference?
I do, but I don't think that we have the facilities to take the number of people that would fit in those other categories. At least not at this point. I know that Newsom,
Sure.
that's also part of his plan and all that, the care courts and stuff like that. But we still need to have those facilities. And this is supposed to be by this fall. So yes, 2, who decides, right? If you're pulled off the street, I mean, who decides that you're mentally ill? How long does that process take? Right. I think it was
the care court, right?
But that again takes time, and it's not even up and running. So
that's right.
So the care court, is supposed to be happening this year at some point. We know that's just going to go so freaking smoothly, right? I mean, there's going to be no hiccups. They're going to have the right people doing it. It's just going to be, right. I'm dripping with sarcasm here, but it takes time to do these things. And so what I don't want to see is all this money going to tiny homes and then nobody using it, right? Because we can't figure out how to get people into these homes. And then again, like you were talking about in Petaluma, what do these tiny homes look like? Have you seen, and I'm going to use the word crap, and maybe that's wrong, but have you seen the amount of crap that some homeless people trudge along with them all the time? That's a lot of stuff. Have you seen some of these encampments bigger than the tiny home? So
I will never forget driving through Berkeley. I had a doctor's appointment. I had to go get a mammogram in Berkeley.
Ooh,
and I know. Woo. This was about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Ooh, due for another mammogram. And I drove there and I see all these homeless encampments on the freeway on and off ramps, right in the kind of like the middle of the cloverleaf circle. And the amount of trash and debris littering this area is jaw-dropping. It looked like worse than a city dump. I don't.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you amass that much stuff, that much garbage. Yeah, it's pretty surprising.
I mean, I love that you're surprised by it. I see it on the daily. There are encampments that it's just, and now since the major storms, there was this stretch that I've always bitched about on Capitol Expressway that they cleared out. And now all of a sudden the tents are moving back. And this was the area, if you remember, I was complaining because Capitol Expressway, people go 50, 60 miles per hour on this expressway and they're right on the curb. I mean, coming off, let's say like Monterey Road, speeding. And like on one hand, I don't want to see homeless encampments. On the other hand, all it takes is somebody to go whoop, and you've knocked out how many tents. So they were cleared out and now all of a sudden they've come back. And I think the reason they came back is there was kind of this grassy knoll hill, like inlet on a kind of an overpass type area. And a lot of homeless have claimed it. It's kind of, you can see it when you drive past, but it's down below the street. I think it started to flood. And so I think because of all of the rain. And so I think a lot of them have gone to higher ground. And so they're back on the street. Get these people into real housing. Put up these freaking tiny homes somewhere. Now, I mean, here, the debate always has been the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds. I know in your neck of the woods, you guys use your fairgrounds for animals and during disasters. It's kind of one of those places to go to. But this is crisis level. Like, we need to do something ASAP. Yeah. And I do think that the problem is going to happen simply when the conversation begins on where to put them. And leaving it up to local officials, I think is the wrong decision. I really do. And I understand, well, the state doesn't know the neighborhoods and blah, blah. Educate them, give a couple of spots, and then the state's just going to have to decide because it's never going to happen then. I could see the NIMBYs. I can hear them already screaming about it. And I know some of you are going to be like, well, do you want it in your neighborhood? You know what? If there was an area, I mean, I'm in like a neighborhood, but if there was an empty parking lot that wasn't being used around my neighborhood and they put tiny homes there, fine. Because you know what else is like a mile away from my house? Encampments. It's not as if this changes the reality of the situation. It's just now they're in actual housing, and hopefully they don't leak like the ones in Petaluma. Let me read some of the comments coming in. There's a bit of a debate going on regarding rent control being a solution.
That's Lady Beatrice trash, by the way.
Yeah, that's
homeless
what people are living in. Yeah. Lady Beatrice says, I think there should be more rent control because some people become homeless because they can't afford rent anymore when they lose their jobs. Absolutely. But Randy disagrees, says rent control solves nothing. But there was someone saying, and where is it? Yeah, Neiman says rent control helps people like me. I'm a single parent and I hardly have money for food. Yeah, I think when you talk about rent control, you also have to have the oversight of those that own the properties with rent control, because what can happen is they become slumlords, right? It's rent control. They're not going to put any money into the building or the apartment or the home. These are the horror stories that we often hear sometimes. Rent control also is, and then with our eviction laws, you can't get bad tenants out. They're destroying or not upkeeping, the property or maintaining it in a proper way, those sorts of things. Nothing is perfect. I don't know what the answer is to rising rents and rising housing prices. It doesn't matter how many encampments there are or bad headlines about crime in the Bay Area. People still want to live here. If there was the mass exodus, it would impact our housing prices in some way. I will tell a story towards the end of the show, Kim, because I'm gonna show some pictures, because I went last night. Our house is just not unpacked. Okay. And I know there's no rush, but there's boxes everywhere. There's boxes that haven't moved because it won't stop raining. And I can't organize my garage to get things actually put away. So hopefully this weekend, Mother Nature cooperates and I can get this done. But we need furniture. Like, we need certain things to hold stuff. And my husband came home with what I call the monstrosity. It is a literal joke.
Where did he find it? Was it a curbside pickup?
No, my husband is okay. I'm going to preface this by saying that there are some cool things that you could find on like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or those sorts of places. Sure. Okay, you can find great deals. All right, it's like a garage sale. Like, you could find treasures, right?
Right.
Usually, my husband clears things with me. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? We come from two different rules of thought. I want to be like, not minimalist furniture, but I have a gigantic hall tree that bothers the crap out of me. It's like this gigantic piece of furniture and I don't want it. He loves it. And so I've given in, fine. But he comes home with the ugliest piece of furniture, never lets me know, just walks in with it, puts it down. And I'm like, and so I'm going to show you the pictures towards the end of the show. We won't do it right now. This is the tease. But then last night, the reason I'm bringing this up, last night we picked up something that I found on Facebook Marketplace that I got rave reviews from my best friend. And then I showed her the picture of what my husband brought. And she's like, oh my God. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I went to Santa Clara to pick up this piece of furniture. And it was like a young guy. I was communicating with the wife, but the husband was probably around our age, maybe a little bit younger. And they were living in this craftsman home. I mean, it stood out. Like, driving around, like, they're fine looking houses, but then there's this house. I mean, it has the gorgeous porch and nice friggin' house. And I walk up and he's like, come on inside and take a look at it or whatever. And I was like, your house is really nice. He's like, thanks. And there were boxes everywhere. I was like, you moving in? He's like, no, we're actually moving out. They're moving up to Roseville. And I was like, and it's just this idea of housing. He's like, you can get a much bigger house up in the Roseville area. And while this house, again, was gorgeous and they expanded the back, so it wasn't, her grandfather, I think, built it from scratch. Like, I mean, this house, I was like,
how do you let that house go?
Money. That's how you let it go. I'm sure. Well, they were
I'm a sucker for a family connection.
I know.
Your grandpa built the house. Like, that's your house and your family forever then.
I'm pretty sure it was the grandfather that built it. They were renting from the parents. Her parents, I believe, was the story. So I don't think it was her parents that built it because it was older. But yeah, I mean, Kim, you would have fallen in love. Anybody would fall. It was gorgeous. A gorgeous, gorgeous house. Just the woodwork and everything like that. But even that isn't enough to keep some people in the Bay Area because you can get a ton of money for some reason. It's just it's the common problem that people face. Now, is rent control going to fix it? Not in every situation, but yeah. It's tough. It's tough. Let's see. Let me read a couple of more of these. This is why we need, Lady Beatrice, this is why we need affordable higher education. The homeless person could have a chance at getting a better, more stable life. Oh, I'm trying to get this reporter that did this great piece for the LA Times. And it's about bettering your life. That's what made me think of this when you were talking about the homeless. Did you hear what Newsom also announced about San Quentin? He's I'm making the joke that he's trying to bring IKEA into San Quentin. They're going to try this Scandinavian model within the prison to do more of what we were just talking about this week, the rehabilitation part. Right. It's an interesting story. I'm trying to get the reporter that was covering it to come on and kind of talk about this. But I could already again hear the chants of people like, what? We're giving all these, but it is to train them in the trades so that when they leave prison, they
have
can get a
something to do.
6-figure, career. And why wouldn't people want that? Like some people are like, what? We're training these people so that they can make $100,000 plus a year. What's the alternative? They come out better criminals. They come out,
they commit a crime and go back to jail, and then we're paying more money to house them for another so many years. Yeah.
So I'm trying to get that. I was going to talk about it today, but I'm holding out hope that I can get the reporter on tomorrow. I reached out to her because she did an excellent piece in the LA Times. So hopefully we'll talk about that tomorrow. Bay Area to Italy. OMG. Who saw this coming? So you guys remember that story of these guys that went to Rome and they killed a cop, plainclothes officer? Dan Noyes with ABC7. Let me show you a little bit of his report because it'll refresh your memory. Here he is, because he's been covering it from the beginning.
Leah and Ethan Elder filed into Italy's highest court, the Court of Cassation in Rome today. Nervous but hopeful that their son's conviction will be overturned. Finnegan Elder's attorney, Roberto Capro, said he expected the court to grant a new trial because there are too many flaws in the reconstruction of the night's events. For 7 hours, the two defense teams argued a key witness lied that police in plain clothes had identified themselves and shown badges. Elder and Gabriel Natalia Yort testified that early morning in July 2019, they thought the men were thugs sent by a drug dealer who had taken their money. While Natalia Yort grappled with one officer and ran away, the other officer pinned Elder to the ground. He took out this military-style knife and killed 35-year-old Mario Cicciolo Rega. The officer had just returned to work from his honeymoon.
Ugh.
Both men received life in prison, but an appeals court lowered Elder's sentence to 24 years and Natalia Yort's to 22 years. Now the High Court ordered a new trial. Natalia Yort's father told me the ruling comes as a huge relief.
I am relieved and elated that the Supreme Court ruled the way it did. Clearly, Gabriel is innocent.
We won't know the timing for the new trial until the written ruling comes out. The families want to know if their sons will be released from prison while they prepare for a new trial.
All right. What do you think? I mean, one of those guys stabbed that cop 11 times. Does it matter? And I know I'm not talking legally. I'm talking about you. Like, what do you think? Does it matter that the guy did not identify himself as a cop? When he did do what he did, he still stabbed this guy 11 times. That's a lot, Kim. One person from the UK who I guess lives in San Francisco because of her Twitter handle said, one of the parents is very wealthy, I believe. I wonder if money is playing a part in the retrial. The facts still stand. If the issue now is because the police officer did not announce themselves at the time, then what's changed? They did? If so, then the sentence is still right. If I was that officer's wife, new wife, he just come back from his honeymoon, I don't know how I would feel about this retrial. I mean, they're Americans. I don't know if we're supposed to have loyalty to that, but it just seems a little bit nuts to even consider releasing these guys, at least in my opinion. What do you think?
It seems to me like Italy has a hard punch at the beginning of a crime and then it eases off over time. Case in point, Amanda Knox. You remember her?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Amanda Knox
Brutal.
was convicted of killing her roommate in Italy. And then was sent, I think she was sentenced to, decades in prison. And then also, like in this case with the young men from the Bay Area convicted of killing an Italian police officer in the Carabinieri, she also gets a new trial. And then is, I think, acquitted or let off for time served, and she's back in the United States. So these crimes that at first seem so egregious, and they're so offended, and they convict you, and then they throw you in jail and lock you away for life. All of a sudden, it seems like, and maybe one of the people in the chat area is right. Maybe it has to do with well-connected families and money. Yeah. It just seems like, this isn't the first case where we see Italy reconsidering.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that these guys don't deserve a new trial. I'm talking about the crime in and of itself. Now someone was saying, well, if they didn't announce themselves, then it was assault and self-defense. Okay. I mean, if the facts of the case hold up, they thought that they were drug dealers that had stolen their money for the drugs, but the backpack I thought contained the drugs, or they thought the backpack contained the drugs. I don't know. Don't go to foreign countries and buy drugs. That should definitely be one of the messages that come. But we'll see what happens. I'm really interested to see what the repercussions are going to be for a crime like this, because it's serious. And 11 times. I think that's the part that blows me away the most, is taking out that military style knife and not just defending yourself, but like this passion. Stabbing someone to death is very up close and personal. So I'm not quite sure,
Well, there's no, question that he killed someone.
No.
I guess the question would be, should the penalty for killing a police officer be more severe than killing a random drug dealer?
Random drug dealer. That's a very good question. Well, we'll say,
is a life a life, or is the cop's life more valuable and therefore the penalty should be higher?
I agree. I hear you. Okay, coming up after Kim's news, I do want to get into what is happening in Texas. So Texas Governor Greg Abbott, just love that guy. He has announced that the state is taking over all Houston schools. That's it. They're taking it over. The Associated Press actually did a great montage with some reaction, including from the Houston Federation of Teachers, which you can only imagine how happy they are. I also have someone running, Isaiah Martin. He's actually running for Houston City Council, and he was putting out this message to the rest of us around the country about why we should care about Texas takeover of Houston schools. Because some of you might be like, Texas is nuts. Who cares? That sort of thing. But these things have ripple effects.
Yep.
A reporter's fired after calling out what he considered propaganda from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, because you just love how they want freedom of speech until that speech is against them. And then, Kim, your husband actually reminded me of this hilarious video that's been going around for the last week or so. It was a Republican against a Republican, but it all had to do about an anti-gay bill. And the point that is made speaks volumes. So I'll have that video as well. Please click the thumbs up button as we go to Kim's news, and we'll talk about all of that next.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. Let's talk about life expectancy in the United States. The U.S. apparently has the lowest life expectancy of any G7 nation. That according to data from the University of Oxford and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. The G7 is an informal grouping of the world's advanced economies, including Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the United States. And again, of all those, we've got the lowest life expectancy. We die sooner. Why? Are we living in a more toxic environment? Are we not eating foods that are healthy enough? Are we not exercising? What's wrong with us? I don't know. Let's talk about former President Donald Trump. The New York Attorney General is asking a state judge to reject former President Trump's request to delay a civil fraud case. In a court filing this week, Letitia James warned former President Trump might use his White House bid as an excuse to continue delaying this case. The lawsuit accused Trump, 3 of his adult children, and the Trump Organization of a scheme to manipulate asset valuations to win better terms from banks and insurers as well. The country's second largest school district expected to shut down soon due to a strike. This is unions representing cafeteria workers, bus drivers, and other workers in the Los Angeles Unified School District say they will go on a 3-day strike starting on Tuesday of next week. They are demanding a 30% raise, and teachers say they won't cross union picket lines either. So there you go. There's a Florida judge setting a new trial date in the civil lawsuit filed by Gabby Petito's parents against Brian Laundrie's parents. The suit is alleging the Laundries knew their son murdered Gabby and worked to help him flee the country. The judge rescheduled the trial for a 2-week window starting May 13th. of 2024. U.S. Drought Monitor showing California's drought conditions are continually seeing improvements. Whew. Just over 36% of the state remains in a drought. That according to the data that was just announced today. According to the map, some parts of Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties are now either abnormally dry or in a moderate or severe drought category. The state has been experiencing a large amount of rainfall and snow since January. 9 atmospheric rivers have happened that month. And recently, the state has been experiencing heavy rain and snow conditions as well. And again, we're due for another atmospheric river that is supposed to be coming in next week. So there's that. Speaking of all the storms, catch a load of this. I have some more pictures that load in here as well. This is in San Clemente. Hope I'm saying that right, in Southern California. And this is a pool that is just about ready to slide over a cliff that is washing away. The pictures are amazing. Yeah, the coastline slipping into the ocean yesterday after severe storms and heavy rains. The dramatic mudslide in San Clemente left some homes teetering right on the edge of a cliff. This is imagery shared by Orange County authorities. You've got the pool there with the hot tub. Well, short-lived, right? They can be seen hanging over the drop. Patio furniture and other belongings are already down below the cliff. No injuries reported when this happened. Thank goodness nobody was in the pool or standing beside it. Looks like one resident who was told to leave the home, which was evacuated, told ABC7 they may have lost everything. They said, we called our insurance. They said, well, they don't cover hills going down. So they said, all we have left is our faith in God. Yeah. So as of this morning, authorities said a total of 4 homes in this area have been red tagged. Here's some more pictures.
Oh my God.
Homes. Yeah.
I mean, see, that's what you see. Everyone's like, oh, I want this beautiful view. No. I mean, I get it. It's gorgeous. But you have to understand you can't stick your head in the sand when you're living on a cliff like this, right? Look what happened in Pacifica a few years ago. Remember? It's just, and people still wanted to buy those homes. There was a great piece. I think it was done by KQED. I want to say it was KQED, where they were still showing the property that had like police tape, like don't cross over there because it might topple into the sea. And they're like, oh yeah, I still want to pay like $2 million for it. People are out of their mind.
When we were looking, my husband and I were living in San Francisco and ready to buy a house, have kids, buy a house, move out of the city because we wanted a place where we could actually find parking and, raise our kids, which some people do that in the city, but I don't know. So we were looking at a house in Pacifica.
Right.
Open house. We went to this home and you could see the ocean in the distance, and it was basically the house, a chain link fence, land with some flags on it, and the ocean. And so I asked the realtor, what's the story with those flags out there? And she said, oh, there's a sinkhole.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So you're telling me there's the coast, the cliff, a sinkhole followed by the house I'm looking at buying. Nope.
Yeah. How much was the house? Do you remember?
It actually wasn't that bad, which is why we were there.
I'm sure it wasn't.
We were first-time buyers, couldn't afford a lot, and we looked at each other like, now we understand why this is so cheap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
who wants
crazy
to deal with that? But these pictures are wild.
I mean, can you imagine?
No, those houses are going down, 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 down.
Down, down, down. Oh,
and the insurance company says we don't cover hillsides giving away.
Well, you would think that homeowners insurance would know the makeup of the ground that it's on, the house, and all those. Like, you should have that included. I would have included it no matter what. I mean, either it's included or I'm not getting it.
And some of these buildings aren't single family homes; they're apartment buildings.
Yeah,
so you've got
a lot of
multiple people affected in these areas. Lots of people. Lots of people. They ain't getting no home. Anyway, so yes. Well, let's talk about something a little more pleasant, huh? Maybe a little early to start talking about cold treats for the summer, but this one is new. Okay. It is Coors Light, and they are offering beer-flavored popsicles.
You can make those your own, people. Just make sure you get the beer out of the freezer before it explodes.
They're called Coors Icicles.
Okay.
They are non-alcoholic. They're marketed as made to chill.
Coors Light is like
Coors.
water, so it's just ice they're making you. Okay, so go ahead. Sorry.
They're selling them for the NCAA tournament as a way to stay chill when things get heated. Supplies are limited, they say, and you'll have to buy them at Coors online shop. A new batch is released every day through March 24th. A 6-pack of Coors Icicles will cost just over $20.
Wait, but there's no booze in it.
No.
Then why? Why is
Tastes
Coors
like beer. Tastes like Coors, I guess.
water? It tastes like nothing. I drink when I drink beer, it's usually Coors Light because that's what my husband drinks. And if I'm camping or something, I still try to get fancy with my cocktails. But Coors doesn't really taste like anything. I don't know. Seems like especially if it's not even gonna have alcohol in it. I would definitely not do that.
You don't want the Coors Icicles?
No, and John makes a point. Alcohol doesn't freeze as easily. Costco would make those like boozy, icy push-up thingies, popsicles. And
yeah, they had champagne ones at one point.
yeah,
I think.
but he's right. If you got, my husband purchased them for me, and I was going to bring them last summer. We had a block party. By the time I took them out of the freezer, and it was hotter than hell, and just brought them out, they were juice. So you could just dump them in your cup, which is what we did, and just drink it that way. So that's stupid. That's water. He's selling you ice. He is selling you ice and charging you $20.
It looks like a Coors push-up.
It's water, Kim. It's water.
No? Yeah. Well, no, I'm sorry, sir. Nikki does not want your water sickles.
No, I do not. I think it's a scam, but okay.
This
whatever.
report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, please call Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, thank you, Kim. Okay, so let's talk about Texas. Now, okay, I bash Texas a lot. I bash Florida.
Let's keep bashing Texas.
You know, Texas. Yeah, we can
keep bashing Texas.
We can
I would like to bash Texas for the Texas judge that is about to, looks like, will ban the abortion pill for women in America. So, screw Texas on the horse they rode in on is what I have to say.
And what's the state, Kim, that is going to that is considering the death? South Carolina, I think, considering the death penalty for women who have abortions. This is America in 2023, people. But again, I love that you bring this up because it's also educating people about things, right? If you quiz some of these lawmakers that are making decisions about women's bodies, basic things, right? How many of them would not know the answer or totally mess up, right? It's education, and not believing the BS. Well, Texas governor and Texas officials, Governor Greg Abbott, Republican, and Education Commissioner Mike Morath have announced that the state is taking over Houston's nearly 200,000 student public school district. This district is the 8th largest in the country. They're saying that this is one of the largest school takeovers ever in U.S. history. Now, there are people who say it's because the schools are in disarray. The schools are not educating the children properly. I'm going to play you a little bit of reaction. You'll hear from Morath again, the education commissioner, or whatever, along with Greg Abbott made this decision. But we're going to start with Jackie Anderson. She's with the Houston Federation of Teachers. And this video is all thanks to the Associated Press. So here we go.
Educators, parents, and the community remain resolutely opposed to today's announcement by the TEA to take over Houston public schools. Our schools should be run by our locally elected school board. As far as I'm concerned, this is a hostile takeover. It was done to Houston families, not with them.
In each case, it is a different group of local officials that run the school system. So it goes from one form of local control to a different form of local control.
I know that the school system has been underfunded. It has been underfunded for decades. It didn't just start. That's right. The federal government has had to fund. The Texas tax dollars that should go to schools are going into the pockets of people who do not see public schools as the means of educating their children. Right.
Failure is not an option. We want to make sure that we have provided the best leadership environment possible for Houston ISD.
We together will stand against the governor, and the governor can't take over just because he wants to. He has to have our cooperation.
Right. A school district that has been given a rating of B plus by his own agency.
That's right.
Is what he declares is worthy of being taken over.
That's right.
A school that has earned the grade of C by his agency is the litmus test for this action.
That's right.
The court proceedings essentially stopped about 3 weeks ago. And so we're still required under that same law to act. We still have the same two choices available to me to make a decision, and it's not in the best interest of kids at Wheatley to close Wheatley. So that leaves us with the Board of Managers.
I am extremely ecstatic. I want the TEA to come in and fix a fractured board. Our students have suffered at the helms of leadership.
We're calling for the Federal Department of Education, the Secretary of Education, and all other federal levels to investigate the constitutionality of this action.
So there you go. Thoughts? Now, Randy says Texas is nuts, but didn't California take over the Oakland Unified School District for a time? Now, I believe, and I was doing a quick search while you were talking just so that I'm correct. I believe it had to do, and this was last year. I think that there was a thought of doing it because of civil rights violations. I'm not quite sure. I have to do more research.
I believe it was finance. This Oakland Unified School District was in such financial disarray that the state had to come take over the schools. So it was in receivership. I believe for a while they had an overseer from the state until they got themselves financially solvent once more.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't have a problem necessarily with it. I think it's the motivation that I have on why Texas Governor Greg Abbott wants to take over the schools. It's the lack of trust that he's not doing this for political reasons instead of allowing, maybe a temporary one or what have you, but he's going to replace the superintendent, the district's elected board of trustees. So who do you think he's going to be putting in the schools?
You shouldn't be able to do that. That should be, is he saying the reason is because the schools are underperforming? Is that what he's saying?
Yes. So they're saying the 7-year record of poor academic performance. Morath, the gentleman, the skinny guy that was being talked to right there, he cited a 7-year record of poor academic performance at one of the district's roughly 50 high schools, as well as a poor performance of several other campuses. He's quoted as saying in a letter, the governing body of a school system bears ultimate responsibility for the outcomes of all students. While the current board of trustees has made progress, systemic problems in Houston ISD continue to impact district students. Most of Houston school board members have been replaced since the state began making moves towards this takeover in 2019. That's
a pretty bold, ballsy move, because if you had your Department of Education give this school district a B plus, some of the schools in there B plus, and all of these people that are on the school board were elected by that community, then what you're saying is the voters don't count or matter.
Exactly. And you have to look at the funding. So this person who represents parts of North Houston, State Representative Armando Wally, said, we acknowledge there's been underperformance in the past, mainly due to severe underfunding of our public schools. An annual Census Bureau survey of public school funding showed Texas spent $10,342 per pupil in the 2020 fiscal year. That is more than $3,000 less than the national average. So you can't with one hand say, why are you not performing well, when you're also not giving these schools that have issues the funding that they need to turn things around. So it's as if they want to underfund it so that they poorly perform so it could justify in their minds the school takeover. Now, Isaiah Martin, he is running for Houston City Council, and he put out this message basically to all of us on why we should care about what is going on, and he makes excellent points. Here's what he had to say.
I want to bring you up to speed on what just happened. Right here in Texas, Governor Abbott's administration has just removed all 9 democratically elected members of the school board here in the Houston Independent School District. Now stop. If you don't live here in Houston, I bet you're wondering, why should you care? Follow me closely. These school board members are elected officials whose power was stripped from them by the state. This is a trend. In Florida, when a district attorney spoke out against a governor, he was removed from office. In Texas, when you don't play ball with the governor and you won't play ball with banning books, you get removed from office. Why? Because these governors' unpopular policies cannot win in the big cities. They're not stopping with a loss in a local election. All that's happening is that they're engineering new ways to remove the winner from office. No matter where you live or who you vote for, what party you support, this should be alarming, because removing elected officials because you don't get your way sets a dangerous precedent. Because trust me when I tell you, if you believe that this is going to end with down ballot races, well, I got some oceanfront property to sell you in Idaho.
Boom. And that's kind of the point you were making as well, Kim. I mean, these people were elected. And so Abbott and others are going to be like, it's okay. It's okay if we lose that election. We'll find another way to get our people in. And this is the way that they're doing it in Houston, which, of course, the makeup of the Houston area, largely brown, right? I mean, not entirely, of course, but a lot of people are saying that, you know, you're choosing these areas specifically because how these people may vote and what they may or may not support. So, yeah, we have to closely follow stuff like this. It's important. It is important. And you have to call it out when it happens. He mentions Florida. Did you hear about this Axios reporter? Let's see. Axios reporter Ben Montgomery was sent. Do I have a picture of it? Let me see if I have a picture of it. Was sent this press release. I don't. So he sent this press release from Governor Ron DeSantis' office. And the headline reads, Governor Ron DeSantis hosts roundtable exposing the diversity, equity, and inclusion scam in higher education. That's the headline of a press release from the governor's office. Okay. And so, hold on, let me see. I'll just share my screen just to show kind of what it looks like. And so this is what it looks like. Right. So there's the headline, right? Governor Ron DeSantis hosts roundtable exposing the diversity, equity, and inclusion scam in higher education. And then Ben simply
they sent that to a newsroom, right?
They sent that to all newsrooms.
So let me just say, you send it to a newsroom, you've got to expect reporters to follow up.
Right.
Right.
And so Ben Montgomery, and you can't see it in the tiny font, he just writes back to the press office and says, this is propaganda, not a press release. And yeah, I applaud you, Ben. Unfortunately, though, Ben has now been fired. Axios fired Ben for only responding. You know, obviously, Axios can fire anybody they want to. But apparently, Ben Montgomery was fired after Axios got wind of it because DeSantis's press person, Alex Lanfranconi, the communications director for the Florida Department of Education, actually, that's who it is, had quite a problem with it. Some people are like, it's not journalism for you to write back. Now, he didn't actually write that to everybody. He responded to the press release. Axios did confirm that Montgomery is no longer with the company, but did not specify the reason. Montgomery is not responding to Mediaite's questions regarding it. It just seems very much like what that gentleman from Houston was talking about. You know, you cannot call out truth to power. You can't lead with this headline. Also because DeSantis, this is his platform. Remember the whole woke agenda, anti-woke agenda? He wants to restrict. Well, go ahead.
What would you have done? Would you have responded to the press release? I mean, it obviously is propaganda, but many press releases are.
There's spin. There is spin. I think that when it's coming, you know, if this was a reporter and not an opinion columnist or something like that, if this was a reporter and they said it, you know, a propaganda material sent out to news agencies across the state, I would say that that's pushing it, definitely. But just responding to an email with that opinion and then that person blasting it on social media tells me everything that I need to know about the situation. You don't want to be called out for blatant. I mean, I would use the word propaganda because he's calling it a scam and he's using these buzzwords like woke and things like that. What's a scam? Teaching diversity, teaching about gender issues. That's the scam that we're supposed to sit in and listen to a roundtable discussion with, I'm assuming, is a bunch of people that think the same exact way as DeSantis. I mean, of course, I don't know. I'm not at the roundtable discussion, but really, is DeSantis going to include people that do not agree that it's a scam? I mean, you've already loaded it up into the headline.
But I would argue that most press releases, many press releases are, if not propaganda, they're exactly what whatever agency is sending you the press release wants you to hear. Press releases aren't news. Press releases are tips to follow up on a story.
True.
Oh, this person thinks this. Oh, this person's doing this. Let's dig in. Let's find out more about it, right? So in this particular case, the response shouldn't have been to the creator of the press release, although you maybe expect more from your state than, you know, the load of crap press release that arrived on your desk. Okay, let's see we now know what the governor's position is or what the state's current position is on this matter. So let's find out. Let's start interviewing other people to see if this is how let's do a story that's fair and balanced and, you know, maybe exposes the press release for the sham that it is. That's the reporting. Yeah. There's no reason to respond to a press release. You're speaking to people who will never be convinced to your side, right? Or will never be convinced that you're sending a load of crap. So the reporting is the most important part there. I think it's a waste of time for the reporter to respond to the press release.
Yeah. I mean, it was just one sentence and maybe he just was, you know, getting up in his britches a bit about it, but it got him fired. So probably not worth being all snarky to that person about it.
Well, and not his job either. Again, how many press releases do you have that are completely one-sided, if not full of misinformation?
Yeah.
So not his job to comment on the nature of the press release or what he thought of it, of the information included. It's his job to then expose it for being the fraud and the sham it is. And he could have had a much wider impact if he'd written the story.
Right. I think, you know, and I think you're absolutely right. He should have done that. He should have just bit his tongue, should have said it to the newsroom. Like, this isn't even a press release. This is propaganda, which is something that we often would, you know, see. Like, people can just spew their opinions and then you write a balanced story. I also wonder what it must be like, though, to live in a place like Florida or Texas or some of these states where it's just being shoved down your throat. We have time. I'm just going to play this real quickly because it just puts a nice touch on it because we have Jefferson Graham waiting in the wings to talk photos. But this came out like a week ago. And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about what kind of education we're giving our kids, what kind of propaganda is being spewed. Because these people have power, right? They could remove people from schools. They could take over school districts. So this is Missouri State Representative Phil Cristofanelli with a fellow Republican representative, Ann Kelly. And this is having to do with her anti-LGBT school bill. And I love this exchange because, again, when people tell you that certain things don't belong in the classroom because it's indoctrination or why are we talking about this so young, I think an excellent point is made. So this is worthy of a listen.
I'm just going to read you the language in your bill. No classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties relating to sexual orientation or gender identity shall occur. Lady, you mentioned George Washington. Who is Martha Washington?
His wife.
Under your bill, how could you mention that in a classroom?
So to me, that's not sexual orientation.
Really? So it's only really certain sexual orientations that you want prohibited
You
from
have-
introduction in the
Do you
classroom.
have language to make that better, to make it where you're not talking?
Lady, I didn't introduce your bill.
Lady.
Lady.
I
lady.
didn't write it. You wrote it. And so I'm asking what it means. Which sexual orientations do you believe should be prohibited from Missouri classrooms?
We all have a moral compass.
There's the morality.
And my moral compass is compared with the Bible.
There you go. She said it out loud.
Lady, I believe
I
during your
believe-
testimony, you said that you didn't want teachers' personal beliefs entering the classroom, but it seemed a lot like your personal belief. You would like to enter all Missouri classrooms.
You can believe something without putting that onto somebody by the way you behave. And you can have beliefs and morals and values that guide you through life.
I don't dispute that, but I'm asking about the language of your bill and how it would permit the mention of the historical figure Martha Washington. Could you explain that to me?
So what does she, why is she famous? Is she famous because she's married to George Washington?
It seems like that would be a relevant fact in her biography, yes. Could it be mentioned under the plain reading language of your bill? Is that a no?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know. My bill is stupid, and I finally have to admit it.
Well, yeah. I mean, she said it out loud. My morals are okay. My sexual orientation is okay. My mentioning of a husband and a wife is okay, and not in any way dealing with sexual orientation. But God forbid George was married to Harry. God, you're indoctrinating these children. It's like, come on.
No, this is a Republican going after a Republican.
But he's also, caveat, he's gay.
He's gay. But I felt like the facts and his point was so well made that he didn't need to keep saying lady.
Oh,
lady.
I loved it though. I loved it.
I know,
and they
I
know
did
each other.
too.
They know each other, which is
Lady?
just hilarious.
Hey, lady.
Hey,
But it was like it was just rude enough that it kind of got in the way of what he was trying to say.
Oh no, I love
Which is
I
your
love
bill
it.
is stupid. You don't understand that you're
Lady.
you're ridiculous. Yeah. And I love when she's like,
Well, yeah, she
I
gets
don't really
it.
have an answer for you. Yeah.
What's funny, and just my last point. What's funny is he made a point that I don't think, and hopefully it does now. People think about when they're talking about why do you have to bring up LGBTQ issues? Heterosexual relationships are brought up in the classroom from day one, through history, through talking about things like that. It's just a fact. And yet when the people you're talking about happen to be in same-sex relationships, all of a sudden it's indoctrination. And it's not. It's just talking about people and who they are and what have you. And so I just loved it. I love that your husband I did see that when it first came out, but I was like, oh yeah, that's just so, and it fits in so much with what is happening in states like Texas, in states like Florida, and honestly across the country. All right. Oh, go ahead.
The fact that she said, I don't want teachers to be putting their personal opinions and indoctrinating kids in the classroom.
Crap. Yeah.
And then she turns around and says, well, I believe we have moral values and compass, guided by God or whatever.
Right.
And that she's then called out for the fact that she wants her personal beliefs, but no one else's. It's the hypocrisy that just really galling.
It's always a hypocrisy. All right. We're going to do Kim's News. Stay with us. Jefferson Graham of Photo Walks TV. His show kicks off at 2 right after this show. Every single Thursday he's going to be on. He's taking a big trip. And so he's going to tell us what we would need to bring if we want to take amazing pictures and what we can leave at home. So that's coming up after Kim's News.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's get to the banks. Whew. This is a kind of a mess now. The White House saying Congress needs to act to strengthen banking regulations after the collapse of 2 banks. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said legislation has been introduced to repeal part of a Trump-era bank regulation rollback. The bill would put banks with at least $50 billion in assets back under strict Federal Reserve oversight. She said tougher rules are necessary to prevent another failure like what happened here at Silicon Valley Bank. The Biden administration is threatening to ban TikTok unless the app's Chinese owners sell their stakes in that company. But TikTok CEO Xu Zichu tells the Wall Street Journal a sale won't resolve America's national security concerns over this popular video app. Chu says the demands for Chinese-owned ByteDance to sell its stake in TikTok won't offer any more protection than a plan the company proposed with U.S.-based company Oracle. There's concern the company could harvest and supply sensitive data on U.S. users to the Chinese government. Multiple state governments and Congress have banned the app from government devices so far. Turns out, Ukraine will be getting some fighter jets from Poland. They are known as MiG-29 fighter jets, and they will be delivered in the near future. Poland is now the first NATO country to provide Ukraine with such jets as it fights back against Russia's invasion more than a year later. Poland's president also reiterating his country's unwavering support for Ukraine during this conflict. YouTube TV price is going up of the monthly subscription plan. The cable streaming service will raise prices by 12%. It will go from $65 a month to $73 a month. YouTube also lowered the price of its 4K Plus add-on from $20 to $10 a month. New legislation would ban the use of toxic chemicals in processed foods here in California. AB 418, a first-in-the-nation measure, will prohibit the manufacture, sale, or distribution of food products in a state that contain, in our state rather, that contain red dye number 3 and 4 other harmful chemicals. Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel says these chemicals are currently banned in the European Union and in many other jurisdictions. Still, many of them are included in food and candy, especially marketed to kids in the U.S. He says, not a ban on foods or products, it's a push to get companies to switch to safer alternatives. Gabriel says for each of these chemicals, there are safe, readily available alternatives, and in some cases, cheaper ones. Here's a really interesting picture. This is Vista, California. And this is where a sinkhole has opened up underneath at least one mobile home. Now there are 12 red-tagged mobile homes in Chula Vista, just another case of a sinkhole during these storms here in California. And here's the picture I was trying to present to you. This is a dinosaur picture, kind of what it would have looked like. There's a New York scientist behind this astonishing dinosaur study. The findings of this dinosaur, gargantuan. Paleontologist Dr. Drew Moore spent a year analyzing 3 fossils from a dinosaur's neck found in China in the 1980s. Using 3D technology, his team created a rendering of a creature whose neck was nearly 50 feet long. Looks like a precursor to a giraffe. The school bus size, probably perfect for grazing the treetops. The massive herbivore who roamed the earth more than 150 million years ago is thought to have had the longest neck of any living creature ever.
Wow. I mean, wouldn't it be funny if we're just completely wrong and putting the bones together wrong and dinosaurs?
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
this at all?
But if he's right, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
that is I can't even imagine even standing next to one of those things, right? My goodness. Geez.
I mean, I think it would be hard for it to bite you.
Yeah, but it could step on me.
Could step on you. Could bite you. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, speaking of gargantuan, he has had such an impact on people's lives because he's really a helper. Steve Moskowitz can be reached at 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Thanks for joining us on the second half of the Nikki Medoro Show. Click that thumbs up button if you can. A big thank you also to Kevin Hobbs, who gave us a $22.44 donation through the Super Chat. The Super Chat is live. We love you, Kevin. Thank you. I just love also the way, his amounts that he chooses.
Yeah, it's always so fun. Yeah.
So yeah, the super chat is live. Patreon is up and running. Please continue to donate. We love our Patreon subscribers, the Madorables, as I love to call you guys. Just go to thenikkimadoroshow.com, thenikkimadoroshow.com, and you can find the link to our Patreon and past shows to share with your family and friends. PayPal's up and running. There's the email, thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com. That's also where you can reach us for any advertising or sponsorship opportunities, because we are opening those up very soon. And then, of course, the merchandise behind me is available at the NikkiMadoroShop.com. But without further ado, let's welcome the man himself, Jefferson Graham from Photo Walks TV. I was trying to mess with my phone yesterday, taking pictures, using some of the tips and tricks you gave us. But then you email me and you're like, I'm going on an amazing trip to Japan, and I'm not bringing any fancy schmancy camera equipment with me. And I thought to myself, are you sure you don't want to bring anything but your phone? But that's what you're doing.
I'm sure. Ladies, let me tell you all about it.
Okay.
Just to let you know. The guy reminded me of Jerry Lewis, actually, from the last clip. But anyway, yes, you do not need to bring big cameras on travel vacations anymore, unless you're going to Africa and you're shooting close-ups of animals. If you're going to France, Italy, Spain, Japan, you name it, you're going to do just fine with a smartphone, which, as you've heard me say, you could do 80% of everything that you would want to do on a big camera, except for ultra close-ups. But then how many ultra close-ups are you taking on vacation? You're doing more wide shots. If you're going to shoot the Eiffel Tower, you're not doing a close-up of the Eiffel Tower. If you're shooting a shrine in Japan, you're not doing a close-up of the shrine. If you want to get some detail, move your feet and get a little closer.
Okay, so if you are going to some place like Japan and you're trying to plan your shots, because you were talking last week about that golden hour, dawn and dusk, where the sun is where it is. Is that, I would assume the same thing holds true out there, although the time frame might be a little different for you.
Best shots are in the morning. The best shots are in the evening. If you look at any Japan pictures, I would guarantee that 60% of them are done at night, are done right when the sun went down, that little blue hour in between daylight and sunlight, and a lot of streaking cars and things like that. Yeah. But as far as your shrines, your temples, your people pictures, those are done during the day.
Now, are there must-see places you're planning to go on your trip that people can look forward to seeing your pictures?
Well, I'm not going to Tokyo. I've been to Tokyo. I'm not going to, most people think Japan, Tokyo, like they think California, San Francisco, Los Angeles. It just is one of those things. There is another city there called San Jose. I know somebody who lives near there, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Right. So I'm going to be in Osaka, which is the other part of the country. It happens to be the home base for Panasonic, and it's near where Nintendo is based as well. So those two things. Osaka is considered the food capital of Japan, and it's got a really lively downtown. I should mention that my son lives in Japan, so he lives near there. So that's why we are going to that area. We're also going to go to Kyoto, which is really old Japan at its best. A lot of kimonos and geisha ladies and things like that. So I'm looking for, I will be filming episodes of Photo Walks TV, and I'm looking to document the best of both of those places in the morning and the evening and midday. A mixture of street food and the street scenes and the back alleys and the old Osaka Castle, which goes back to the 1600s. All sorts of good stuff.
That's awesome. Now, you emailed me, and this was already in my rundown from yesterday. And I was like, I'm going to ask Jefferson Graham about this. And now we have SF Tesla also with the same question. The Samsung shots of the moon. Apparently, this is a technique, and there's some sort of controversy about these photos. What exactly is going on here?
Fake news. I mean, that's what it is. Samsung and Apple and Google give you what's called computational photography. You don't really think that your pictures look as great as they come out. I mean, they've been worked on. They've been enhanced. Every picture you take on an iPhone is actually 9 photos that are merged together. That's why they look so good. So Samsung has a little trick to take it. You can't take a picture of the moon. You just can't do it. I mean, it's, think about how far away it is. So they enhance it and they admit it. And that's the way it is. I don't know if I ever told you about the time that I did a photo shoot of a couple down at the beach. And I took their picture on my regular Sony camera and I had a big white sky and it was like, eh. Then I took a picture of them on the iPhone and I got a blue sky. And that's the way I wanted to see it. And that's the way they wanted to see it.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a blue sky, but when you took all those pictures and merged them together, there was.
Okay, so I mean, but Samsung has been facing a lot of criticism for doing this. Is this the same thing as when I'm driving on, 101 or 880 and I see these billboards with these iPhone pictures and they look absolutely gorgeous? Are those the enhancements you're also talking about, that I can never get a picture like that? Because I'm going to tell you the truth, Jefferson. That's why I buy the damn phone, is because I want my picture to look like that.
Okay. Well, when I come up and visit, we'll take those billboard pictures and we'll try to recreate them. It can be done. It just takes a lot of effort.
I have a couple pictures to show that I would love to get your critique on. Mm-hmm. So the other day at school, this little girl gave my son one of those heart necklaces that you split apart, best friends necklace. And it was such a cute moment that I tried to capture it, but my phone automatically blurred her in the background, and I don't know how I could have. So he is front and center and clear, but she's all kind of fuzzy. What did I do wrong?
Right.
Keep moving. Like I told you last time, keep moving, keep changing the angle until you get it right. They did an automatic, what would be called bokeh. They thought that you wanted the boy to be the main image when you didn't. But if you had just tilted the camera a little bit and played around, that would have fixed it.
My next picture, and thank you for that, is of a birthday celebration. And I think it's the light from the candles that makes everything else blurry. That was a total picture fail.
Same thing. Keep moving.
See, Kim, you have to move around more.
It doesn't like lights. The lights can drive it crazy. So I don't know if you can see me right now, but if you could have moved up, moved to the side, I would have started up here, gone down here, moved over here. I can't guarantee it would have fixed it, but I think it would have.
Okay.
And I like that you're bringing about move around. I feel like sometimes, especially maybe Kim, you feel me as a parent, you're just trying to be there in the shot and you just want to hold up your camera, take it and pray for the best, because you want to also be in the moment,
And also kids don't have a lot of patience for, hold that shot. They,
exactly.
You get maybe 2, 3 and they're off doing something else. So
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
But the secret of photography is moving until you get it right. And you can move fast. You can move fast. Immediately that doesn't look good. And then if you just move a little bit, shift a little bit, it can really dramatically make it a lot better. Now, Nikki, I want to show you what I'm talking about when I talk about what I'm bringing. So this is it. This is it. Okay. So
selfie sticks are still in, is what I'm saying. Right.
Selfie sticks are in for me. This is what I use. I leave the big camera at home. This selfie stick turns into a tripod down here.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
I need to get something like that. My kids would laugh at me though.
$25. Okay.
That's
my $25 accessory. Okay. Then
what brand is that? What is that?
It's called the Insta360 selfie stick / tripod. If you're going to buy it, make sure it's the selfie stick tripod, because they also sell a selfie stick, which is not going to help you because you don't get the tripod. And that tripod is 4 feet. And I like to do time-lapse videos, and I could just go anywhere with that in my pocket, open it up, and get
set
ready.
It up.
Yeah.
You're done. Yeah.
What kind of phone did you have? Oh,
my microphone.
Oh, what kind of microphone is that?
It's called a Rode Wireless Go 2.
Rode, RODE. That I've heard of Rode. Okay.
And this side goes into the phone, and this goes on me.
And how far do you have to? How much like rope does it give you?
Well, I don't know if you've ever heard the story about the time that I was in Crissy Field in San Francisco doing a shoot there, and I was talking to the camera. And while I was talking to the camera, somebody came by and grabbed my camera, tripod, microphones, threw it in his car, and drove away. Do you know that story?
I do not know that story.
Okay. So ever since then, I've learned not to stand so far away from the camera. That was on a regular camera, and I was 15, 20 feet away. Now I'm right in front of it.
Yeah.
And I'm close enough to go catch it before somebody runs it gets it. So I'm not really concerned with how far I am away. Because
you're not making that mistake. Okay.
Yeah, not again.
But it gives you enough length where you can set it up and stand in front of it. Yes.
Yes.
Totally.
Okay. Totally.
That
It's
works.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And I have two of them. So when I interview people, I put one on me and one on my guest.
Ooh, you got to put all these details. Are you talking about this? Your show is coming up in about 40 minutes or so on Photo Walks. Do you list all of the stuff that you buy?
I have links. I've done
Okay,
it
good.
before, and I can. What should we do? Should we tweet it out?
You know what? Email it
thank
to
you.
me, and I'll put it in the show notes if I can afterwards, or I'll put it in the social media.
I'll also
sharing of it.
tweet it out. I also
Yes.
bring this camera. Do we know this camera? This is the Insta360 X3. It has a lens on both sides, so that when I'm walking down the street, it's getting a shot of me walking down the street and a shot of what's in front of me. At the
Are
same
these
time.
high-priced things, though, Jefferson? I mean, do you have to be kind of?
Come on, $350, $25. The microphone is $300. I mean, I produce a video show. I've done like 100 episodes with these microphones. It's really come in handy.
That's actually not too bad. I was thinking you were going to be talking like $1,000 each or something like that. So that's not. I mean, everything you named is under $1,000 for all of it. So that's
and
pretty good.
the phone that Kim asked about, this is the Samsung Galaxy S21. I have been known as an iPhone photographer for years. I've been photographing on the iPhone since they added a camera. And every time I say, and here's how to do something, there's somebody out there that says, yes, but how do I do it on a Galaxy? So I went out
There
and
you
bought the
go.
phone, so I'll know.
That's what you're a giver, Jefferson. That's what we like about you. Thank you. So it's so that's I'm assuming you're going to be talking about your trip to Japan on your show that gets underway. What else are you going to be talking about?
That, and I have an amazing photographer named Dave Williams, who is based in England. He lives in a van in England, and he's going to live stream with me talking about his recent trip to the Northern Lights of Norway. He shot them on the iPhone. His pictures are out of this world. And he's going to talk about them. Both of us are speaking at an upcoming iPhone photography conference, virtual, March 27th to the 30th. And so we'll both be previewing the stuff we'll be talking about there as well.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, definitely check out Jefferson Graham's show. He's going to be chock full of stuff. And please, let's get all of those things that you bought. A lot of people in the comments are wanting to know the names of things and what you bought. So, and then next week, you won't be here. You won't be here for 2 weeks. Is that correct?
I'll be back on April 6th.
April 6th. So Jefferson Graham's going to be gone on his amazing trip. So obviously continue to follow him on socials, on his YouTube channel. I think you're a hair's breadth away from 10,000 subscribers, right,
I am
Jefferson?
200 away. 200
All right.
away.
So
And
go on there.
we crossed 1 million views last week.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
That is
Thank
amazing.
you.
That is quite the milestone. So check him out. His show kicks off at 2:00 right here on YouTube. It's Photo Walks TV. Jefferson Graham, enjoy your trip. Take amazing pictures. We can't wait to see him when you come back.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jefferson. Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, I'll get all of that information and I'll make sure that in the upcoming times that Jefferson comes on, I'll have him send those to me. So the links are already there for you. Cause yeah, I saw you writing stuff down, Kim McAllister. So
I was writing stuff down. Yeah.
I know. I didn't have a pen. I was like looking, I was like, that's just me.
Well,
But-
that tripod selfie stick thing looks kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. You got to get the tripod with the selfie stick though, not just the selfie stick. Don't be without the selfie stick. Okay. As promised, I'm going to show you some pictures because we have some time. If you were not here for the beginning of the show, I was bitching and moaning about my husband.
What did he do this time?
I told you he brought home a monstrosity into my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have moved. We moved here a little more than a month ago. The house is still in complete disarray. There was this great, just speaking of disarray, Kim McAllister, there are these moms that are on social media just showing off pictures of their messy ass homes. And they want to normalize the mess, which did I pull some? I thought I had pulled. Oh, I am. So they're just trying to really make people feel better about the fact that their homes are not Instagram worthy, all this sort of stuff. So here's one mom. Now, I don't know if I'd be posting pictures like that necessarily on social media. Here's another one of her dirty sink. that's just a dirty thing. I mean, for me, I think, yes, let's normalize the fact that not everything is out of a magazine. On the other hand, wash your damn dishes. Like,
I don't want to see your mess.
I don't want to see your mess. But anyways.
It's like before you have people over to the house, clean up a little bit.
Just
Clean
a
the
little.
bathroom if
Like,
someone needs to use it.
I have
Pick
an
up your
indoor
stuff off the floor.
Yeah, I have an indoor laundry now, and it has a door that kind of like the pocket door that slides, and the kids just throw their laundry in front of the washing machine because, of course, they do. But at least I have a door to shut it, so we don't have to look at it every single day. What I do have to look at every single day is this monstrosity that my husband has found and brought home and purchased. He claims it was only $40, and I'm saying only. I wouldn't have paid $1 for it.
Let's see it.
It is so freaking ugly that when he walked in, like he even knew what he was bringing in. And I'm like, you really like this? And he maintains that he likes this. This is a side table. I don't know. It has those two drawers on the bottom.
Bad. It doesn't look so
shut
horrible.
the hell up. You
looks
are
like
so full of it.
It looks a little circus, but
Thank
you.
you. It looks exactly.
It has some potential.
What's the potential except as firewood? Like what potential? Where would you put that?
It can
Thank
hold
you.
a lot of family games and things.
The games already have a closet. So he brings
not
this
so
up.
bad.
We were looking for something. The thing, my main issue with this is he thought that this is what I was going to want for our bar. Like I wanted to get something that goes right in the kind of dining room area where we can kind of put, our bottles of booze and maybe some nice glasses and like a bar area, right? Because right now it's just on the kitchen counter and we look like alcoholics. Like it needs to be somewhere.
So this is supposed to be the bar.
This is supposed to be the bar buffet kind of place. Okay. This is not what I'm imagining. I am not decorating off of red and orange, a circus tent in my.
Could you slap a coat of paint on it? What color is the kitchen? Like
friend,
white and black?
Why do I have to paint something? Just don't buy it. Buy something in the color that you like. Now, I'm planning a project with this thing, okay? Because it's already in my house.
Yeah.
But it has moved. Now, my husband has to wake up to it every day because it's become his side table. Because I found something on Facebook Marketplace that makes a lot more sense. Now, tell me that this isn't way better. Look how nice that is.
That's way better.
This is custom crafted. So I was mentioning this home that we visited and picked this up yesterday. It's really nice. It was like this craftsman style home in Santa Clara. I mean, the minute you drive past this house, you're like, oh, that's a nice house. It has a huge like porch with the steps that walk up. I mean, it's just, I'd love it. And anyways, when you walk in and they're like, yeah, it's a custom crafted buffet. And the grandfather apparently built the house, probably built this buffet. And again, let me just show you. It is so nice. See, Karen? Yes.
Yeah.
Way better, right? The booze bottles can fit in the drawers with that pretty glass. Wine could be right there. We can have a nice little, glass decanter or something on top. My husband's already put some of his bourbon on top of it, but we have to organize it. So yes, isn't it? That glass is beautiful. I'm just giving myself props. Yeah. Facebook Marketplace is a great place to find a lot of things. This should have stayed there.
I think a coat of black paint. And that thing becomes something that you will be surprised how much it can hold.
It's amazing what paint can do. Yes.
It does have some interesting knobs on it. It's not, it's kind of, it can be an interesting piece, I think.
I love you. My husband probably loves you as well. But
the way it is, maybe not so much.
It's just, I feel like, and I didn't even get the top of it. The top doesn't even match. Like it doesn't even match. It's like speckled. It's just, it doesn't, I feel like whoever sold this knew that it was a joke. Thank you. It looks like a circus tent. My husband actually put his phone in there. It was just,
it does. It has a circus flavor to it for sure.
Yeah. And it does not belong in my house. At least it does not belong in my dining room. My beautiful new gorgeous buffet. You don't have to apologize, M-Stars. I'm mostly often right, so don't even worry about it. But yeah, I'm very proud of that buffet. Facebook Marketplace, that was like $100, but it's custom crafted. You're not going to find it in IKEA, right? That's what I kind of want to find. I want to find pieces that you can't find anywhere else. So there you go. I had a bitch and moan about that. Thank you for going along that journey with me. Speaking of things that are not a waste of money, it is getting the right advice when you maybe are worried about a letter you received from the IRS. Joining us now is our founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. And Steve, you have given for decades people the right advice, the right kind of expertise, as they say, because you don't want them to fall into trouble with the IRS.
That's right. And the other thing is, I've always said for 30 years on the radio and TV, most people cheat on their income taxes. They cheat themselves by not taking everything to which they're legally entitled. And so many people are so terrified of an IRS audit that they're afraid to take legitimate deductions. And what I've always said, you should take everything to which you're legally entitled, no more and no less. And no matter what you do, you might get audited. But if you do get audited, much like a police officer wanting to see your driver's license, so what? You show it to him or her, and assuming you're not an axe murderer and you have your registration and insurance and haven't been drinking, a few minutes later, you're on your way. You wouldn't stop driving a car because a cop might want to see you sometime. And with doing your taxes, there's so much available to people they just don't know about. The Fortune 500, they make so much money, and some of them don't even pay any taxes at all. And you see, because they have an army of people doing what I'm talking about on your show. But the small business person, they work really hard and they grumble, and here it's March and they say, oh, it's so unfair. I have to pay so much in taxes. But remember, there's so many benefits, but they're hidden in the tax law. Talk to us about filing your tax return. Let's see the difference we could make. And if we discover a lot of things you've been missing, we actually go back and amend your last 3 years federal, 4 years California. And if you can't pay your taxes, and that's common with a lot of people, especially now, that's okay too. We'll make a deal for you. There's a lot of good deals, whether it's ask the government to just pay a small part and forgive the rest, or monthly installments, or forgive penalties, or leave you alone until you're back on your feet. Whatever it is, we want the best for you. In almost all cases, we can do everything for you. Have nothing to do with the government.
I did have a viewer, a fan of yours, Steve, that actually was asking about what you talk about with the amending prior years. So her situation was she doesn't make a lot of money, $60,000 a year, but she just realized, this is the key. She just realized that she didn't claim $8,000 in investments for 3 years prior to last year. So she's kind of wondering, is she up a creek? If she files this year, does she have to pay? Is she going to be penalized? Is she going to have to pay all those taxes this year? I mean, what advice do you have for people that have made that kind of mistake?
Well, first of all, she doesn't sound like an axe murderess.
True.
So basically, in filing the amended returns at 1040X, it's 3 columns on the front. The first column is what you originally provided. The second column is the changes you're making. And the third column is the difference between the two. Right. And then on the back, there's your explanation why you're filing the amended return. Just tell them the simple truth and ask them to forgive the penalties.
What do you just say? Pretty please? Like, do you say, can you just forgive the penalties, period? And that's it?
Well, if you like
is that work for you, Steve? Because I think your nice smile might do a little bit more than that. I don't know.
Under the reasonable cause section, I respectfully request that you abate the penalties.
There's the quote right there. All right. Well,
she didn't mean to do it. Like, the intent wasn't to defraud the government. It was an
people
accident.
Make mistakes all the time. It's just a simple mistake, easily fixed.
Oh, I'm sure if she's listening, and I hope she is, I'll reach out to her, because I think she was really freaked out. And
and listen to him. The words he said, easily fixed. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, Steve Moskowitz says easily fixed.
Exactly.
Sweet.
And that's why you have to give him a call. AAA tax deal, MoskowitzLLP.com. Look how better we all feel. And we're not even her. Like, she's going to feel way better. AAA tax deal or MoskowitzzLLP.com. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate it. Bye-bye. Yeah. So she was really, and I know I threw out, it's not a lot of money. In the Bay Area, $60,000 a year is not a lot of money. When you are worried about having to pay the IRS and your mortgage or your rent, $60,000 is not a lot of money. I don't know anybody that lives in the Bay Area that thinks that $60,000 is a lot of money.
But when
It's
you're
not.
looking at penalties and fines
Yes!
and whatever, like
Oh, I
God
can
only
imagine.
knows what the bill from the IRS is going to look like.
Oh.
That's a day from hell when you open that one.
My
The fact
my
that
heart
he's
would
like,
fall in my stomach.
oh,
Absolutely.
the fact that he's like easily fixed. Yeah,
Just
I'm
write this on the back. I'd be like, with a happy face and pretty please. Sprinkle some sugar on top. I have no idea, but that's the kind of advice you're going to get from Steve Moskowitz, though. So again, AAA tax deal.
Yeah.
MoskowitzLLP.com. Okay, so we're going to do a quick news update. What was I going to? Oh, I did. I have to get into the good news. There's actually some semi-good news coming out from those that want to go see Taylor Swift. The Cure's Robert Smith is also weighing in on the Ticketmaster fees. When's the last time that's happened? And then another kind of gross question about, I was showing you people's homes and not, maybe cleaning up. This one has to do with what happens in the bathroom. And it's amazing what people admit on national television. Like, they say these things out loud and you're like, dude, that probably isn't something you should tell mixed company. But alas, this person did. We'll get into all of that right after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. Steve Easy Fix Moskowitz, hopefully. And this report is sponsored by him at 888 Tax Deal. Vice President Kamala Harris says the rights of many Americans are being threatened in states across the nation. Speaking at a roundtable in Iowa, she specifically mentioned LGBTQ issues, reproductive rights, and voting rights. She's urging folks build a coalition as those rights are coming under attack, she says. There has been an arrest in the case of a murdered Florida Microsoft executive. Jared Britigan, seen there on the left, was gunned down in what police say was an ambush last year in Jacksonville Beach while dropping off his twins at the home of his ex-wife. Well, today, the state attorney's office announced the arrest of the husband of Britigan's ex-wife, Mario Fernandez, on the right for that murder. Two brothers telling their side of the Jussie Smollett scandal for a new documentary. The Abamola and Olabinjo Osundaro say everything they did the night of the alleged crime was staged by Smollett. A year ago, the actor was sentenced to 150 days in jail for lying to police about an alleged hate crime. Looks like they're corroborating all of that. Again, Nikki mentioned it earlier, so we'll hit it again here, but Governor Gavin Newsom says California is turning the San Quentin State Prison into kind of a rehab facility. The governor says by 2025, San Quentin, currently housing more than 3,000 maximum security prisoners, will be turned in to a Scandinavian rehab center. The LA Times says the $20 million project will turn San Quentin into a center for job training and placement with comfortable open living spaces. The Scandinavian model says life should be as normal as possible for those convicted of crimes while they serve the punishment of separation from the community, while they help prison guards with less stressful situations. We'll see how that works out. Works in Scandinavia, maybe it'll work here. Officials at the Strong National Museum of Play are announcing the finalists for this year's World Video Game Hall of Fame. The nominees include The Last of Us, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Angry Birds, Quake, Wii Sports, and GoldenEye 007. The games are judged based on their longevity, their influence on culture, and their international outreach. Okay, I'll end with this wacky story. I wish I had this man's picture, but I couldn't find one. The California man with the world's longest tongue set another Guinness World Record for the fastest time to remove 5 Jenga blocks with his tongue.
I thought this was going to be way more fun, but okay, go ahead.
Nick Stober of Salinas removed the 5 Jenga blocks from a stack in just over 55.5 seconds with his tongue.
How, does he whip it? Like, I need to Google this. Hold on. Jenga tongue. Okay.
Stober, Stoeberl, uses his record-breaking tongue to paint and do other things, Nikki.
I'm sure he does. I bet his
girlfriend
or boyfriend is happy. There you go. All right.
So yeah, that's his name is Nick Stober. He's from
Like,
Salinas.
can you imagine? He's like, you know what? I'm not working right now. My tongue's a little tired. Can you just take care of yourself?
You know, I can always count on you to go right
Yes,
there.
I will go
right
there.
there.
That's what she said.
Oh my God. You're hilarious. All the
I can't find
videos
the
I'm
video of
clicking
it,
on of
sorry.
him say all the videos that all the videos are say YouTube privacy warning. So I think maybe they might, I don't know if they're X-rated. Like I don't know. Here's okay. If I did find a photo,
Okay.
bear with me for 2 seconds while I show you this photo. I have to save it and then I have to add it into our system. And you can
My mind is
see-
always in the gutter, Grady. Always. I live there. It's my favorite place to be. Okay, go ahead.
And I think that's okay. I think that I love you for that reason and many more. So I'll show you this picture of his tongue, and this is featured with a Jenga block. So you ready? This is a fairly long tongue there, sir. Oh my. Nick, what are you doing?
I mean, this is my question. How do you know you can do this? You know what I mean? Like, at what point you're like, I have this really long tongue.
Yeah.
And I can like maneuver Jenga pieces. Like, how do we get here?
I suppose what starts as a party trick morphs into a Guinness Book of World Records for a tongue. And then you start thinking, well, how could I showcase my party trick? How could I showcase my
A
world?
lot of different ways, but yes. Oh my God.
Jenga pieces became part of this whole scenario, but
Oh, that is so funny.
and look, he's removes the ones from down below. Apparently his tongue has finger-like properties. Just saying. Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. All right. Well, I mean, good
This-
on him. I'm so
Yeah.
happy for him. I'm so very
This
happy.
report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, call Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Maduro Show. You see,
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's the best story of the day. That wins hands down. Congratulations, man, with the extra long tongue. I have a very short tongue, just to let everybody know. I have a very short tongue. I was tongue-tied as a kid. I'd have surgery, had to get lanced. So I will not be winning any Jenga competitions or any other tongue-based competitions there. But yeah. Oh, really, Kim? You thought you had a long tongue? I'd have to see a picture of all that. I mean, I wonder if he uses that on. Would you lead with that? If you were like on a dating app, would that be your profile picture?
It depends on what kind of date you're looking for. Are you looking for a get lucky date or are you looking for a real relationship?
They could be both. I mean, you could be in a real relationship with that guy and hit the jackpot. How does he fit that?
Don't advertise it. If you're looking for a real relationship,
Don't lead with the tongue.
Don't lead with the tongue. Let that be an added bonus later on.
Okay. Like the jackpot. Okay. We're going to move on. So Taylor Swift tickets. We talked about it a lot. Remember the whole Ticketmaster? We're going to do something about it. And then it's been crickets pretty much. I mean, they have put forth some bills to look into the monopoly that Ticketmaster is accused of having. Well, there could be a solution to high ticket prices. And it's called waiting. So apparently tickets for Taylor Swift's first 2 gigs in Glendale, Arizona, have been plummeting. The price of them have plummeted. Now, remember, people were paying thousands of dollars for these tickets.
Right.
According to the New York Post, they found tickets going for as low as $164. That's reasonable for a much sought after ticket like this. $164 just a month ago. Tickets started at $290. That was before fees. So it's about more than $100 in savings from just over a month. And that's what they're saying. If you want to see some of these, the scalpers or people that are snapping up all the tickets, they want to get rid of them as quickly as possible. As it gets closer, they're going to get scared. And so they're going to drop the prices. I mean, that's just the name of the game. And so they might drop it as low as face value, which would be awesome. Because it's completely unreasonable what some of these tickets prices are going for, because people can't afford it. It's just not possible for people to pay $1,000 to see their favorite artist. And then who are you getting in the front row? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with rich people, but come on. Well, you know this guy, Robert Smith. He's from The Cure. He says he is sickened by Ticketmaster's fees, but he says that the artists can't really do much about it. So apparently he's on his Shows of a Lost World tour. Tickets actually went on sale for that tour last week. And so he told his thousands of Twitter followers, I'm as sickened as all of you are by today's Ticketmaster fees debacle. To be very clear, the artist has no way to limit them. I've been asking how they're justified. If I get anything coherent by way of an answer, I will let you all know. How old do you think Robert Smith right there is? How old do you think he is?
I'm going to say 68.
Not as high as 68. Anybody in the chat? I mean, he's still touring, which is pretty awesome. I've never seen The Cure. I wasn't a huge Cure fan. I don't dislike him. You know, like Friday, I'm in love. I know some of the songs, but he's 63. 63 years old. Still doing it. Okay. 68. No, not 68. Everyone's Ricky O'Barrow was agreeing with you, but pretty good. But yeah, he's maintaining that, you know, stop blaming the artists. He says, we have a very wide and what we think fair range of pricing at every show. He adds that its ticketing partners have agreed to help us stop scalpers from getting in the way. And of course, this is all in response to the nonsense that was the Taylor Swift debacle. No, 63 guys. He's 63. I think he looks pretty cool. At some point, though, do you stop wearing the makeup? Or is it just like, that's just part of the whole thing? Kind of like Kiss.
It's part of your shtick. Yeah, like Kiss. You can't.
You just cannot do it.
Yeah, that's The Cure. Big eyeliner. And yeah.
I mean, do you ever think he just looks in the mirror and he's like, I'm done wearing this. Like, maybe I want to do something else. But now he's like stuck in it. And is that has to suck. Chris says The Cure has some good albums. I know a lot of Cure fans. I just wasn't one of them unless it was on the radio. But again, I'm the worst music fan ever. I listen to the radio. I make up my own lyrics. I'm one of those people. So
John says, The Cure. I think The Cure.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them in concert?
No.
Okay. John says Chuck Berry kept performing until he was forgetting his own songs and falling off the stage. Wow. Jeez. Yeah. So I think that if they could do anything about Ticketmaster fees, that'd be huge. Some people are saying the price of fees for some concert tickets are more than the actual cost of the ticket. That's something it reminds me of getting something on DoorDash, and all of the fees and the delivery fees and all these fees are more than the food that you actually purchased. You don't want to do that.
So The Cure coming to Mountain View at the Shoreline Amphitheater. Their stop here in the Bay Area is May 27th, and that ticket is sold out. No tickets available, it says.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Well, you're going to have to get it off a scalper then. So there you go.
That's right.
All right. So again, not everything. And you know me, I disclose probably way too much on this show. And, you know, I'd love to reach national television status. But I would say if you're on ESPN, there are certain things that you probably shouldn't share. So ESPN's Dan Orlovsky tweeted out that he uses a towel. Guess how many times he uses a towel before he throws it in the laundry? What is your number, Kim? What is your number of how many times is reasonable to use a towel? For my children, it's 1. They use it, they throw it on the floor, we're done. What about you?
So I use a towel, I'll dry my body, and then I'll wrap my hair up in it if I wash my hair.
Okay.
So by the time my soaking wet hair, soaks through the towel, it's going to take a really long time for it to dry. So if that's what I've done, that towel goes right in the wash. Otherwise, if it's just like a towel that isn't that wet, right, then maybe 3 times.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm around. 2 or 3 times. I'll wash the towel, and then Karen says I wash towels once a week. You wash towels once a week, that's fine. But how many times do you use, Karen, the towel before it goes into even the laundry or the laundry basket? I mean, what is a reasonable amount of time? Mike says a couple weeks.
No, Mike, no.
Ricky O'Bear says a new towel every other bath.
Yeah,
new towel every other bath.
Okay.
So for me, I have I have the towel that I dry my body off, and I don't dry my hair with a towel. I kind of actually leave it soaking wet because it's how I kind of style my hair. What I do is I have one of those turbans, you know, the turbans that you can wrap on your hair.
Yeah.
But what I do is I wrap it around my neck. So, and I clip my hair up so that any drips don't go down my back, because that just drives me absolutely crazy. So that neck towel, probably 5 times, just because it's not really doing anything. It's just collecting kind of the drips of water. But my body towel, yeah, I'm probably around 3 times. Karen says, I use a towel 3 or 4 times a week, 5 days for Grady. Okay, so how many times do you think that ESPN's Dan Orlovsky uses a towel before he throws it in the laundry? Take a guess and go big. That's the only reason why I'm doing this friggin' story.
Oh, no. Okay, so I'm going to have to go back. Who was it that said to Mike? I'll go with Mike. 2 weeks. 2 weeks?
Okay, so 14. Let's say he takes a shower every day. And that also matters. I mean, if you don't shower every day, then you're not using the towel. So, I mean, the time frame, okay, but he's talking about the number of times that he uses it, not days that pass, times he uses it.
Heather says 4 to 5 times. Kim says 3 weeks.
Karen says 1 million. You're going, yeah. No, but it's really freaking gross. He says he uses a towel 30 times before he throws it in the laundry. So this was in response.
Wouldn't it be a little crunchy after that many times?
Yeah. So this was in response to a question posed by Pro Bowler Marlon Humphrey. Humphrey tweeted, I want to be able to shower and then have a full body blower dry me off. Boom. No towel. How come someone has not created this yet? So Orlovsky replies, you're weirder than me, which made Humphrey answer back, does anyone really like towels though? And so then Orlovsky says, how many times do you use a towel post shower till you throw it in the laundry? I'm 30 times or so till it goes in. And no, I agree, but that air better be hot. So he says 30 times. And this is the funniest response to that. Somebody's like, by that point, the towel just walks itself to the laundry, because what the hell is this guy doing? Yeah, no, you don't have to say these things or tweet these things out loud. But yeah, if you know him, don't use his towels. That's disgusting. No,
steer clear of his bathroom. It probably smells like mildew and man and famunda.
It would have to be crunchy. And I understand, like, some people are saying, well, if my body is clean and I'm just drying it off, then it's technically clean. But no, the water is absorbing it and you're not sanitary. I mean, so 14 times isn't so bad now, is it?
Truth, Mike. It's the truth.
It is bad. If you use a towel 14 times, that's bad. Waiting 2 weeks if you don't shower every day is way stretching it, and just don't tell people. But if you shower, let's say, if you shower 3 times a week for 2 weeks, 6 times, it's getting crusty, but you're kind of gross. This is disgusting. Like, I would not want to even use this towel after you washed it. That's gross.
I don't know if you're the laundress at your house, if you're like the only one responsible for doing laundry.
I'm not.
I'm the laundress over here in Petaluma. And if I see, so my husband will leave a towel on, he's got his bar in the bathroom.
Right. The drying rack.
His rack. I have a hook. He's got a bar.
Okay.
So he leaves his towel there longer than I do. So I recycle my towels or wash my towels more often. But if I see it there, like for 5 days, I'm just grabbing it and throwing it in the washing. Like that's.
Oh yeah. If I'm doing towels, I just grab all the towels.
Yeah.
I don't care if you just use one.
You don't get a choice.
Towels.
Right. Yeah.
What's the best? I mean, the best load of laundry is to do towels. I love it. If I open up the dryer and it's all towels, I'm like, thank the freaking Lord. Because the worst is socks and underwear. My kids' clothes, everything's inside out, still attached. So freaking annoying. All right, I'm gonna end it on this one cute picture that was sent to me because people know me so well on this show. Where is the picture?
I agree, Tim Costa. I agree.
Here it is. This was sent to me. This picture was sent to me by Live the Santa Cruz Life on Twitter.
Okay.
And look at this gorgeous painting. That kind of, I would never purchase it because it kind of goes along with the monstrosity my husband brought home. My oil painting of the Taco Bell Mexican pizza. with the cinnamon twists and the hot sauce packet. And that is the Baja Blast drink right there. I will say there's a petition going on to get it in the Louvre. I was like,
That's really funny.
It is really, really funny. So thank you.
It's a really good artist.
I mean, it's a really good painting. They got the tomatoes on there. That's one of the best looking Mexican pizzas I've seen. I just had a Mexican pizza the other day. I know. I feel no shame for it. It was absolutely delicious, and you can't take it except for my cold, dead hand.
Hey, if you were rolling through Taco Bell and you were going to order, you were pretty hungry, you were going to put in an order only of tacos, how many tacos is appropriate for one person at a sitting?
From Taco Bell?
Yeah.
For me or for somebody else?
For you, for a grown adult person.
2.
That's what I said.
Who ordered 10? What?
My kid tried to order 5.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, we don't eat 5 tacos at one time.
Do they save
Let's
it?
have 2.
My kids save Taco Bell, and all it really is a waste of money that ends up in the fridge. So this is my kids' order. So my children like to pay for taco shells and meat. They don't like lettuce or cheese. Okay. We know they don't eat cheese. I don't know how they're mine. So my daughter likes Dorito Locos tacos with just meat. My son likes the regular tacos with just meat. And then they get bean burritos with only beans, no sauce, no cheese, no onions. So just beans and no tortilla. I can make all of this at home, but it's obviously better at Taco Bell. That's their order. But they order like 2 tacos, 2 bean burritos. So that's 4 things. And then my son loves the cinnamon twists. Yeah. But they don't eat it all in one sitting necessarily, unless they're starving. Like I haven't fed them all day.
I think 5 is too much.
Oh, Sam says 4 soft tacos.
Yeah.
I like the soft tacos. I just had one when I had the Mexican pizza. I had a Mexican pizza and I had a soft taco. That was my meal.
I'd argue that Sam's a grown man, right? Like,
well, you have growing children that are hungry.
5 tacos at a sitting is, I think that's.
You know what? I'll side with you. You're the mom. I'll side with you.
We're gonna call that overeating. We're gonna go 3 or under. I think.
You know, don't start me on the Choco Tacos, John. Jesus, you know I can't have one. They don't even exist anymore. Although there's a place in Santa Clara that I want to visit. I'm going to butcher the name, so I'll figure it out tomorrow. That sells, they make their own tacos, ice cream tacos. I forget the name of it right now. I don't want to butcher the name. I'll figure it out.
Go there
tomorrow.
Immediately.
Friday.
Adult softball says 6. Someone to eat 6.
6 hard tacos. I feel like the hard tacos are harder to eat. Soft tacos, I could just shove those things in my mouth. Oh yeah, you guys are gonna be hungry. So tomorrow's Friday food. And I do think I'm going to be able to get that LA Times reporter. She emailed me back, but it was during the show. So hopefully I can get her to talk about San Quentin turning into, I'm saying an IKEA just because they have the Scandinavian way of looking
rehab,
at it.
yeah.
Like rehab. So hopefully we'll get that. Tomorrow's Friday food. I'm not ordering food. I am making something today. And I'm going to do a video on it. And I'm making some food. And my family's not going to like it at all. But I might just have to eat the whole darn thing myself. I'll tell you how it is, and I'll share you the recipe tomorrow. I've been wanting to make this recipe, so it's about time I made my own food, save some dollars. This will be out of Nikki's kitchen tomorrow. Please click that thumbs up button before we end the show. It was a great show. Thank you all. Please visit thenikkimadoroshow.com. Donate to our Patreon. Reach out to me at thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com. If you want any sponsorship opportunities, maybe to sponsor our newscast, we could talk about some packages for you. So just reach out to us. And of course, was it Jacob that wanted to eat all of those tacos, by the way?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
Right.
Well, here's Jacob anyway. We love you. Bye.
Nikki, you're oh so awesome. You're sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're oh so awesome.
Wow. Okay.